What's up, guys? So back with you for Thursday, April 10th. Had a bit of a loss yesterday, very slight loss. Just too much bulk, I think, man. Although I'm not going to stop doing it, so I don't know. It was a 6 and 7 day, or actually 6.5 and 7, if you want to call it that. I have my banner set up now, so I can easily recap these. So let's do that real quick. Yesterday, so we had a lot of stuff going on. A lot of these money line favorites did come through, though, especially in the MLB. Yankees with the win, although the starting pitching handicap, even though I think I was right, that still kind of just went to the bullpens to decide the game. And then the Yankees almost blew a 4-0 lead, but didn't. I did talk about it on my evening show last night as well, because a lot of these afternoon games are over. So that was a win. Texas, Chicago Cubs under 4.5. I was surprised that we got the under 4.5, honestly, in the first 5 innings, because as I'll talk about in a little while, I don't like to go under like 3.5 or lower than that, because really there's like no room for error on the first 5. This one should have hit. I mean, it was a 1-0 game into the bottom of the 4th inning. The Cubs scored a run, I think, at the bottom of the inning to tie it. Okay, so it's 2 runs scored. You just got to avoid having 3 runs scored in the 4th inning, and then that's exactly what happened. Not only did it happen, it was against Imanaga. I ranted about this yesterday, man, but we had some bad beats yesterday, and this was one of them. Imanaga gives up a 4 spot in the top of the 5th to clobber this under. Just absolutely ridiculous. You don't expect that from him. He is a good pitcher. I don't think the conditions in Chicago were such that that game was supposed to fly over the total. And then, of course, the full game under bettors at least got a push on that because it landed on 8. So I think most of the numbers out there were 8, so I think that is what happened in that one. This over didn't even come close, even though I think there was professional money coming in on the over, of course, at the A's Triple A stadium that they're playing in there that's very over-conducive. That one didn't even come close, shockingly. So you had a game go way over the total with Dylan Cease pitching for San Diego, and then this one yesterday with Vasquez pitching, whatever his name, Randy Vasquez. The game goes way under. Makes no sense at all. So that was a loss as well. Arizona evened it up to 2-2. They won easily on the money line there. Not much to say there. Reds, San Francisco under did not happen. Verlander, like I said, we're going to have to approach him with caution, I think, as he is the oldest starting pitcher in the majors at this point, I think. And we have to probably start treating him like he is not as good as he once. Well, obviously we already should be treating him as if he's not as good as he once was, because that's obviously the case. But I think we have to treat him as really like maybe not even a good pitcher anymore. If that Reds offense that's been doing nothing all year did that to him, so that sucks. So now that made it 2-3. Dodgers even the score, making it 3-3 as they did get the win, although only by 1. They blew a lead in the game and then took the lead back and held on to it in the end. White Sox, this was the one that we're calling a half win because they lost by 1, so they only hit on the on the run line there, not on the money line. If you saw the way that ended, this was another bad beat, I would say. The White Sox definitely had a shot to win this thing on the money line. What happened at the end was ridiculous, man. It was the top of the 9th inning. They were down 3-1. They had the bases loaded with 2 outs, and they got a hit that normally would score 2 runs because on any contact, all the base runners are running with 2 outs, right? Because you can't get doubled up. There's no double plays that can be had. So all the base runners are running. The runner scored. The runner on third scored, obviously, and that made it 3-2, and that's what wound up being the final. The runner on second was going to score, and I forget who it was. I forget his name. I can bring it up, actually, see if I remember, if I can refresh my memory on the dude's name. I'm not good with a lot of these names of these position players in baseball. I know the pitchers more than the starting pitchers is really what I know, because that's really kind of what you handicap. And maybe I over handicap it, but it was Mike Tauchman. I forget how you pronounce his name. He was the runner on second, and he was rounding third to score. He was going to score, and the game was going to be tied, and he injured his leg between third base and home, and that's how they got him out. That's how the game ended. They got him out, and he was going to score the tying run. So you had a chance for the White Sox to score again there. Of course, if they tie the game, of course, you are risking losing the game on the run line, though, potentially, which would be an even worse way to lose that game. But still, that was a ridiculous way to lose that game for the White Sox especially. But I'll take the run line win on that one, as that made it a slight win on the game. But that's ridiculous that you're runner was going to score the tying run, like injures his leg at the end. Ridiculous. This did not happen. Anaheim and Tampa. It probably should have happened. The first 5 under 4. The full game only wound up going over by 1 run, and it was all because Kikuchi gave up a 4 spot to Tampa in the first inning. When would you ever expect that? Kikuchi, good numbers against Tampa. Tampa's offense sucks. I know they're playing in that spring training stadium this year, but still, I don't think it's as over-conducive as that Sacramento stadium is. And even so, I mean, Tampa, their offense just isn't very good. But for them to put up a 4 spot on Kikuchi in the first inning, that just completely ruined the entire thing right away. And Kikuchi didn't even give up any more runs after that. He completely settled down. I think he went through like the 5th or maybe into the 6th inning without allowing any more runs. And it wound up being a close game. So that's ridiculous. This over happened easily. Brewers in Colorado. So we were looking at that game made it 3.5 and 3. Oh man, this recap's going to take forever. That game made it 3.5 and 4. This made it 4.5 and 4. So this game went way over, and it was mostly because of Milwaukee, almost entirely. They scored 17 runs, winning 17-2. Then San Jose also was a winner, so it was starting to look pretty good. As now we're looking at what are we looking at here? I think the whole thing was 6.5 and 7 overall. So this made it 5.5 and wait, what am I at here? I don't even know. I lost track. The Dodgers made it 3 and 3, and then it was 3.5 and 3, 3.5 and 4, 4.5 and 4. 5.5 and 4 with that one. So San Jose actually made a comeback in that game, and I think wound up sending it into overtime and lost. They were losing 7-4 in the middle of the third period. But Minnesota, not that great. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll take some luck on that one, I guess, and it wound up going into overtime. So that made it, 6.5 and 4 on that one. This made it 6.5 and 5. So we lost on Calgary. That was the biggest bullshit of the night, man. Calgary, they were winning that game 3-1. And they're trying to stave off elimination and stay in the wild card race. They're up 3-1, and they lose the game. They give up 2 goals in the final 3 minutes of the game and then lost in overtime. It's unbelievable. That's one of the most frustrating ways to lose a hockey game, and especially when they're a moneyline favorite, too. They're up 3-1 with 3 minutes left. The game is basically over. Like, what the fuck? Then we had Dallas. I never should have added that one, the Dallas Mavs. Well, I don't know, man. I don't even know if it was really the wrong handicap. I mean, Dallas, they're winning that game for some portions of it. They're winning the game outright in the 4th quarter, and they wound up losing by double digits because they went on a stretch of 3 minutes, between 6 and 3 minutes to go. They didn't score at all, and the Lakers went on a 9-0 run, and that's basically what did it. That was just awful. So Dallas went from being down 3 to down 12 in like almost an instant because they just stalled out completely, and they had a chance to win that game prior to that. And then we did get the money line win on the Denver Nuggets to finish it off. So whatever that makes it, I don't know. Dodgers, I think, made it 3 and 3, 3.5 and 3. I'm trying to go through this really quick because I know it was a slight loss unless I miscalculated. And I might have entered something wrong in Action Network. That's why I'm doing this. I just want to make sure. And it is my autism. Great content here. I'm going to get to today's games in a minute here. So that made it, 3.5 and 4. I'm trying to go through this here. 4.5 and 4, 5.5 and 4, 5.5 and 5, 5.5 and 6, 6.5 and 6. But then how was it a losing day? I'll have to go through and see because I thought I wound up 6.5 and 7. I'll go through the day and see. Anyway, let's go to today. Start talking about today's card here, man. We got a short card. It's a short board and short card. Short card from me, even though I still have like 6 plays, I think. So we'll talk baseball first. I have plays in like half of the baseball games. I actually kind of like Thursday because you can kind of focus more. It's a shorter card, so that's what we're going to be looking at here. I will say Soriano and Littell in this Tampa-LA game, they both have kind of bad numbers against the opposing lineup, so I would actually look maybe towards an over, even though it looks like the money might be coming in against that. It's just kind of a quick lean on that one. And same thing for White Sox and Cleveland, even though Jonathan Cannon is a young guy. I mean, both of these pitchers fairly young, but they're both in the same division, so the hitters are familiar with them. And they both have actually not very good numbers against the opposing lineups there, too. So an over in that game might be the way I would lean as well. Just looking at those real quick. That total is actually going down, though, with cash on the under as well in that one. So that would worry me a little bit. And kind of the same thing on that Tampa game. So the money seems to disagree with me on those two. And then we got Minnesota, Kansas City. Actually plays on the bottom three, the last 3 games, including the night game, and not playing any of the first 3. Ober and Waka, I mean, they're both good starters, but they also both, I believe, have bad numbers against the opposing hitters as well. I think Waka's might be a little bit better. Let me see. Ober gives up like a 300 average to Kansas City, so not good. Waka's not pitching well this year so far, and his numbers not really that excellent. I would say they're a little bit on the, like, they're right, like, kind of in the line of average, I would say. So I'm not going to play this game either, but again, maybe a possible lean to the over in that one as well. Although Ober and Waka have both started off the season really bad and probably worse than they actually are. But Ober's notorious for being really bad early in the season. I don't really know why that is. And he becomes a much better pitcher later on because he does actually have good stuff. Waka is kind of a wily veteran at this point. So that it worries me a little bit, but maybe a slight lean to the over in that game. And I think there is money coming in on Minnesota on that one as well. Oh, no, I'm actually wrong. Never mind. It looks like the cash is coming in at Kansas City. Never mind. I don't know. The total's kind of just staying where it is right now, and maybe it looks like a little bit more money coming in the over. Where I'm actually going to go is first I'm going to play a money line on Colorado. I'm going to go with the really ugly home underdog here, man. Even though it looks like we got... Maybe you can get this at plus 100. It looks like you got minus 110 just sitting in it there on Milwaukee with 57% of tickets and 75% of the cash. So the cash percentage is actually flipped on this morning to come in on Milwaukee. But I don't agree with it. I'm going to take the shot here against Milwaukee because Milwaukee's on the verge of a sweep. And, yeah, now they're used to elevation. But look at what the scores have been in this series, man. 7-1 and 17-2. So Milwaukee's outscored Colorado 24-3 in this series. I think something's got to turn around a little bit here. Something's got to give. I mean, Colorado has got to be a little bit more of the motivated team here. And you got to think the public looking at this, thinking, oh, it's basically just a pick-em price here. It makes it so easy. Yeah, we'll just take the Brewers, right? They're obviously the better team. And, yeah, obviously they are. And they have the better record. But in this situation and matchup, I actually don't really love it. Playing now a third straight game in elevation, coming off a blowout win. And, yeah, in this game we did have... the bullpen usage was a little bit more on the Rockies side, I think, but it wasn't that discrepant, really. Both teams kind of used a lot of their bullpen. I don't think either bullpen is that trustworthy, so I don't know if I really care that much about that. But the other thing about Milwaukee is they've already won this series, so they might overlook Colorado in this last game because they've already just annihilated them twice. And up next, they have a much bigger series against Arizona. That is a big series, man. Arizona, usually like a playoff contender, so I think that's a much bigger series. Could be a little bit of a look ahead, and that's tomorrow. So I don't like that. And then Milwaukee has Quinn Priester on the mound, who was on the Boston Red Sox for a little while. He's not a very good pitcher. He's a young guy, but 4.71 ERA this year so far, 1.41 whip, and over his career, 6.23 ERA and 1.56 whip. That is not good. Bad walk numbers, doesn't strike a lot of guys out, terrible strikeout walk numbers. I mean, there's nothing to like about what we've seen out of this guy so far. And against the Rockies, yeah, I know only 2 guys have seen him before, but even those guys have knocked him around to the tune of 600 with a 1,400 OPS. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys are not familiar with Priester, but I just don't think he has good stuff. So when a starting pitcher is unfamiliar to the opposing hitters, a lot of times they do have an advantage, but I think it's more of an advantage if the pitcher actually has good stuff, and I don't think Priester is very good at all, so I'm going to go against him here. Feltner is actually not the worst pitcher for the Rockies. He's been, like, serviceable so far. He's only allowed 2 earned runs in 5 innings in each of his starts so far. And a 9.2 strikeout walk ratio, not that bad. I mean, he's been decent. I mean, so far he's been the best Colorado pitcher. I know he's not good at all. I mean, career ERA still sucks, 5.19, 1.42 ERA. So, I mean, if you want to look to an over, I mean, I would never look to an under in a Colorado game, okay? So that line is flipped towards the over again. Cash coming in on the over. But I think, I mean, after what happened yesterday, I don't know that you're really getting as much value on an over in this one, although I mean, it is basically the same number that it was yesterday. But Feltner actually has good numbers against the Brewers, even though he's the more familiar pitcher. In 53 at-bats, he's held them to 245 average, 556 OPS, and a 15-2 strikeout walk ratio. So I'm just going to take the shot, man, on the extremely ugly home underdog. You might even be able to get it, like I said, at around even money now, or maybe a dog price. We'll take the Colorado Rockies in that one. Boston, Toronto, we're going to go over the total in this one at 8.5. Of course, I'm in Boston, so I'm kind of the weather watcher here. It's not a very windy day this time, so I know 2 days ago the wind was blowing out to right field, so people were like, oh, wind blowing out, that means it's going to be an over, but I was actually on the under in that one because of the starting pitching matchup, and wind blowing out to left is really the danger in Fenway Park, obviously, because blowing out towards the monster, you're probably going to get a lot more hits that just hit the wall or go over the wall. Their right field is a lot bigger, unless you hit it right down near the foul pole there, near Pesky pole. Pesky, really nice old gentleman, by the way, when he was still alive. I actually met him at one game. He would always be behind home plate during the games, and he was like in the dugout for a lot of the games. For the Red Sox, former Red Sox player. I think the pole is named after him because he used to like line drive it around the pole when he used to bat. But yeah, he was a really nice guy. He would sit, watch batting practice behind home plate, and people would, maybe some people just didn't want to bother him, didn't know who he was. But like my dad and I, one time, it was early. We just went over and we said hi. And he actually signed something for me. I forget if it was a baseball or something else, but I got Pesky's autograph, and he sat and talked for like a few minutes. Really nice guy, Johnny Pesky. All right, and then we got so this game I'm going over in this one. The bullpen usage wasn't that crazy yesterday, but I'm just going to go with the full game over on this one just because of some of it's the starting pitching matchup, but I don't think either bullpen is very good either. So yeah, I know Toronto kind of saved their bullpen a little bit, although Gaussman went 8 innings, but then they had to use an extra reliever because this game went into 11 innings. So they did have to use, I guess, their closer, Sandlin. I don't even know if he's their closer or not. Red Sox had to use a bunch of relievers as well, 5 relievers. And Red Sox bullpen, I think, is just okay. Toronto's bullpen, not good. So I'm fine if this game goes into the bullpens. I think I'm fine with this game still going over. We got Chris Bassett pitching. So I think looking at the starting pitching matchup, I think people are going to think that this game is going to be a lower scoring game than it will actually be. Bassett sitting with a 0.71 ERA and 1.11 whip. Yeah, really good numbers, but last year he struggled quite a bit with Toronto, man, with a 4.16 ERA and 1.46 whip. That whip is awful, man. So I saw his numbers declining a little bit. His strikeout walk ratio went from the previous year's 3.2 all the way down to 2.4. So he's a guy that's getting up there in age. So I actually thought last year he might have started like declining and maybe he's losing a little bit. I don't know if he's going to bounce back this year because, yeah, I know his strikeout walk ratio is really good so far this year, but I'm expecting some regression out of him. And the Red Sox are very familiar with him, although I know Baltimore also is, and he did well against Baltimore, did well against the Mets. But, the Red Sox lineup is actually pretty fierce, and he has bad numbers against the Red Sox. 96 at-bats where he's allowed 5 home runs, 12 walks to 25 strikeouts. That's not a good ratio. 292 average, 902 OPS. So the Red Sox very familiar with him, and across the lineup, they pretty much devastate Bassett. So I don't think he's going to be in line for a good one here. And then Walker Buehler, he was one of the Red Sox big offseason acquisitions, but I told you, he hasn't been good since he had those injury seasons, man. After he came back after 2022, or even in 2022, he's had horrific numbers. He was a really good pitcher before then, and look at that sharp decline, and it shows no signs of correcting itself, like I said, so I really did not like this acquisition for the Red Sox, and he's been awful in 2 starts. He's given up 9 runs, 3 home runs in 9 1/3, 14 hits. He's been way too hittable. Yeah, 7-1 strikeout walk ratio is good, but he's just gotten knocked around, man, so I don't trust Buehler, even though he does have good numbers against Toronto, 16 at-bats worth 188 average allowed, 653 OPS, but I don't know if some of those were in a time period where he was a better pitcher. I don't know. Of course, you do have Gaussman in there who's a pitcher, so the fact that he's part of that and was 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts, you can throw that out of there. So then it starts looking less good with a 6-2 strikeout walk ratio and 3 for 14 instead of 3 for 16. Still, decent numbers for Buehler, but I just don't trust Buehler the way he's pitching at all. So we're going to go over in that one. Red Sox might be the lean as well just because they do beat up Bassett pretty well. But again, I don't really want the Red Sox because their bullpen usage was bad yesterday. So, if you want to do it just based on the starting pitching matchup, you could go Red Sox money line in the first 5 innings or something just to win the starting pitching matchup. But I'm going over. I like how it sets up for it, even though the lines flip from 9 juice to the over to 9 juice to the under. We do have 67% of tickets, 78% of the cash coming in the over. I agree with that. 64% of tickets, 97% of the cash on Boston as well. So I'm going over there. And then we'll give you another total. I mean, it wouldn't be a day in baseball without me having an under, right? So I am going under, even though this is probably the one that I like the least. I'm going under in Philly, Atlanta. The lines dropped from 8 juice to the over down to 7.5 juice to the under. So some movement there on the under, even though we do see 50% of tickets on the under and 60% of the cash on the over. So cash percentage on the over, but the line has moved pretty significantly towards the under. And I agree with it. And as I always say with these overs and unders, key numbers in baseball, 7, 9, 11, because the odd numbers are what you need to break a tie in the game. Some team has to win the game. So those are the key numbers that you want to get on the right side of, whether you're playing an over or an under. Schwellenbach pitching for the Atlanta. He's up from -125 to -132, or Atlanta is, even though 77% of the cash and with only 67% of tickets coming in on Philly. So it looks like Philly has the cash percentage, but the money has moved. The line has moved on Atlanta. Maybe I would slightly agree with Atlanta because I do think they have the better starting pitcher, but I like the starting pitching matchup for both teams here. The only caveat here is that Atlanta, I don't know if I trust their bullpen, and Atlanta did use a lot of their bullpen yesterday. Philly basically saved theirs. Atlanta used a lot of theirs, so the one worry here is the Atlanta bullpen. But as I was alluding to earlier, I can't really bring myself to go under a 3.5 in the first 5 innings, so I just can't do it. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go full game under on this one and hope that the starting pitchers get us deep into this matchup. Jesus Luzardo pitching for Philly. He's off to a nice start this season with Philly, man. He's done really well. 12 innings pitched, 2 earned runs allowed, 19-4 strikeout walk ratio. So he has always been a guy that has had a really nice strikeout potential. Not even potential, but just really nice strikeout numbers for the most part. He started struggling a little bit with Miami, but I don't know what that was because he did show glimpses of being really good for Miami after, he had some bad seasons early on in his career, but then he really kind of started turning it around. And then his last season with Miami was a shortened season, so I don't know that you can really take that much away from it. He started off really nice for Philly. Maybe he's like a little bit extra pumped up to be on a contending team now after being on horrible teams throughout his career, on Oakland, who's now homeless, and then Miami, and now he's on Philly, an actual contender. So maybe he's pitching a little bit better for that reason too, and he's pumped up. Either way you look at it, I like it. He's got good strikeout stuff, and against the Braves, 84 at bats worth. He's done well against them. 27-8 strikeout walk ratio, 214 average, and 664 OPS. So that's good. And I don't know, Acuna might still be hurt. I mean, I think he's been hurt for them. It looks like they're taking into account the current lineup too, because I think he's not in there. Neither is Profar, who's going to be out for a while with a suspension. So I kind of like how this sets up. And then Schwellenbach, what else can you say? I mean, he's the best pitcher on Atlanta at this point. He hasn't allowed a run yet this season, and it is not misleading. 14-1 strikeout walk ratio, 3 hits allowed in 14 innings. Absolute domination, although the last game was total domination of a terrible Miami lineup. But even so, we've seen other good pitchers not do that well against Miami. Schwellenbach is the real deal, man. 64 at bats worth against Philly, 14-2 strikeout walk ratio, 250 average, allowed 570 OPS. So we're looking at, I think, a pitching duel in this one. Hopefully that's the case, and we get the bullpens saved a bit in this game. We get good outings from these starters. I think they're certainly capable of that. We're going under at the 7.5, found it at -108. Let's go over to the NHL. Let's try to get this done, man. NHL. Fairly big NHL card. The NBA is the shortest card, so hopefully we can get this done. My Boston Bruins are actually a favorite finally, but against the hapless Chicago Blackhawks. But the problem is, Bruins coming off crushing the New Jersey Devils 7-2, and the Blackhawks are off a pretty bad loss. I think, 5-0 to Pittsburgh. So I think the Blackhawks are going to be the more motivated team here, as the Bruins are coming off a nice win. They're down from -183 to -169. And Blackhawks coming off an embarrassing shutout. So I would actually look to the Blackhawks in that game. You got Florida basically already has it wrapped up. They're going to be in the playoffs, obviously. Detroit still hanging around, I think, alive, trying to stay alive. Big underdog, though, Detroit is. Florida down from minus 214 to minus 197, though. So some money coming into Detroit because they need to stay alive. And now I hate myself for doing this, but I told you I was never going to bet on this team again. I'm going to play on the Columbus Blue Jackets. I almost said the Chicago Blackhawks. No, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Even though the last 2 times I bet them, I thought they were in good spots, and they not only lost, but got shut out in both of them. Actually, I think I bet them in 3 games in a row. And they lost 7-3, 5-0, and 4-0. So way to go. So that means they're going to lose tonight, right? Well, I think the spot is decent for them because they're still fighting to stay alive, which I know didn't help with those other games. But now at least they're at home. A couple of those games are on the road. I know they lost at home to Colorado. What can you do? I thought those were good spots, man. But again, they're still fighting to stay alive. They just beat Ottawa, which is a big win. But I think what that will do is break that losing momentum, just give them finally some confidence back. And they're finally playing the worst team that they played in this entire stretch, man. I mean, it doesn't get that much worse than Buffalo. And Columbus, yeah, I know they have Washington up next, but Columbus needs this game, man. I mean, I know need doesn't mean anything because all it means is that you weren't good enough to be in a better position here. So they're almost eliminated. But again, when they're fighting for their lives and it's one of their last home games, they're playing an inferior team to them. I think they're capable of winning this game, more than capable. They should be able to do it. And I think Buffalo, I think they're not going to show up with full effort in this game, man. I mean, how could you after you beat Tampa Bay in a shootout, crush the Bruins, you beat Washington and Ottawa before that, too, and then you beat Carolina in a shutout 3-0. And even though, yeah, I always say when you start a road trip, you do tend to be focused, but I don't like it at all, man. They got Florida, Tampa, Toronto all coming up next. This is the least important game left on their schedule. I mean, none of these games are that important to this one because Buffalo is dead. They're eliminated. But I think that game against Carolina, I think was one of their playoff type of games, man. Basically, if you want to refer to it as that, I don't think they're going to pay as much attention to Columbus. So I am actually going to take Columbus in this game. They're the only of the 2 teams with something to play for. Buffalo in a bit of a letdown. Columbus up from minus 125 to minus 133. Money coming in, and then we don't really see the percentages yet. 67% of tickets worries me a little bit, but it looks like more of the cash is probably coming in on them as well. So we will be on that one. And then we got Carolina and Washington. Big game here as well. Washington just got crushed by the Islanders. Kind of an embarrassing loss there. Carolina also, maybe even more embarrassing, losing 3 games in a row and getting shut out by the aforementioned Buffalo team. So both teams might show up focused in this game, and Carolina's taking the money. The odds makers are telling you something here, man. Even though Washington has the best record in hockey right now, Carolina up from minus 110 to minus 120. 57% of tickets, 88% of the cash coming in on them. So the money is coming in on Carolina. Carolina is the better team, as the odds makers are telling you they're a favorite on the road here. Might be in a bit of a better spot to bounce back as well. So I would lean that way. The other thing is it might actually behoove Washington to lose because we know the team that wins the President's Trophy is cursed. They never win the Stanley Cup. So including my Boston Bruins in that historically good year a couple of years ago. Yeah, how that worked out real great. Unbelievable. Yeah, so maybe Washington should lose a couple games intentionally and hand over the President's Trophy to Winnipeg just so they avoid that type of thing. I don't know. We'll see. New York and New York. Rangers and Islanders. I mean, both of these teams are fighting each other for a wild card, although they're both really far down. They could be out of it. I mean, Montreal's really close to wrapping this thing up, but still, Detroit, Islanders, Rangers, Blue Jackets are all still technically alive, so they're all still fighting. So what do you want to do with this game? Who knows? Islanders up from minus 110 to minus 117, 92% of tickets, 97% of the cash. Money coming in the Islanders, but the Islanders did just lose that game to Nashville, which I played on Nashville because I thought it was a sandwich spot there after that big win over Washington with the Rangers coming up. So that is what I was doing there. And the Rangers have lost 3 games in a row in real ugly fashion. So I actually don't even know if I would agree with the Islanders side here. I think the Rangers are still the better team, and they're the underdog here, and they're coming off a string of much more embarrassing losses. I mean, losing to Philly 8-5, terrible loss. Although I think that was last night. So the Rangers are actually on a back-to-back. So that makes it a little bit more difficult for them. Winnipeg is at Dallas. Dallas down from minus 113 to minus 133, minus 116. 67% of tickets, 74% of the cash come in on Winnipeg. Money coming in on Winnipeg in this one. Winnipeg just beat St. Louis. A nice win to end St. Louis's hot streak there, end their long win streak. Dallas on a 3-game losing streak. So I actually kind of disagree with this line move. I actually think Dallas could be the more motivated team here coming into this one because they're off these ugly losses. Winnipeg also, again, they might want to try to not win the President's Trophy as well just so they don't get cursed. I don't know, but the money is coming in on Winnipeg. I don't necessarily agree with that one. And Vancouver is now eliminated. Colorado's already in the playoffs, so that's not really an interesting one. Let's talk about my last play, though, which is the Seattle Kraken. We're basically playing this like a spread bet at plus 1.5, although you have to pay minus 120 on the puck line for this one. And sprinkle a little on the money line here. Vegas just lost to Colorado, and they're returning home from a road trip. It wasn't a long road trip. Only kind of took them one time zone over, but still, it is a road trip return. And Vegas is pretty much locked into their playoff spot now, man, so they really don't have a whole lot to play for, and they just lost in a shootout to Colorado, and now they're coming down out of elevation, so I don't love the spot for Vegas here, man. Like I said, I don't think they really have a whole lot to play for at this point, even though Hill might be back in net for them here, and he is their better goaltender, but I think Seattle might want to try to get this win. I mean, they are eliminated, but they're playing well against some decent teams in there, at least beating the Kings, beating Vancouver, although Vancouver is now eliminated. They're finishing a road trip, so I know that's a little bit difficult. It's the third game in 4 days, but you're only asking them to come within the one goal here. And they're coming off a 7-1 loss, man, to Utah. Totally embarrassing. I know they're coming down out of elevation, and they might have to use Grubauer in net here rather than Decord, but I don't know if it matters that much. So I actually like Seattle to come within that number there because even though Vegas is the better team, I don't think Vegas really has anything to play for at this point. Let me see. Where's Vegas at? They're basically locked in. They're 6 points ahead in the Pacific Division, so doesn't really matter to them that much. I mean, yeah, they could maybe leap the Stars to get home advantage against them, but I don't think that's that much of a motivator. So it's kind of a weird spot. Right? I think Vegas is laying too much of a price, minus 238, but 93% of the cash coming in Seattle and 78% of tickets. Kind of surprised Seattle would be public, but I think in the NHL market, it's mostly professional money coming in there. So that's that. And then we do have a short NBA card here, which I'll get out of here after that. NBA, not a whole lot to talk about here, really. First TNT game is Cleveland and Indiana, and Indiana's laying 9.5 points. So that tells you Cleveland's resting a bunch of players. Donovan Mitchell's not going to play. I think Garland is not playing, and I think Mobley isn't playing either. Cleveland is locked into the 1 seed. Indiana is still trying to ensure that they have a home playoff series, at least I think so. But I wouldn't lay that many points, even though I know, like I said with Orlando last night, I wouldn't do it, but Orlando still covered that number against my Celtics. So we will see. And then Minnesota, Memphis, I don't know what to do with this game either. As both these teams are fighting in that pack of teams in the West, fighting for seeding. The money is coming in on the Grizzlies to the tune of 70% of the cash, though 57% of tickets on Minnesota. Line looks like it's dropped on the Grizzlies from 1 to a pick 'em. I don't know what to do with this game either, man. The line dropped a little bit, but it looks like the cash percentage is coming in on the Grizz. I'm just going to stay away from it. I mean, there's not much that I can glean from what's going on here, and both teams are going to have to show up for this. Minnesota did just lose to Milwaukee. Memphis is on a roll right now, but beating some easy teams. They are returning home from a road trip, so maybe that makes it a little bit worse for them, but it was only a 3-game road trip that didn't really take them that far, so I don't think it's that much of a concern for Memphis there. And again, both teams are going to show up because these teams are fighting. They're in that pack of teams that could wind up basically with a home playoff series all the way down to being in the play-in games. So, yeah, they don't want that. So we will see. But I do have one NBA play, and I'm laying the points with Detroit. Detroit actually looks like they're going to have their starters. It looks like Tobias Harris is going to be back. I don't think it's a reverse injured player spot here. I just think working him back in, I just think is a positive. Cunningham is really the guy who you'd want to look at as being a reverse injured player spot, but he came back a while ago, so he's been back. So they have their star player back, so that's good for them. Knicks look like they're going to be without Anunoby, the OG, and Robinson, and Hart in this game. So they have a few guys out, and the Knicks are coming off a devastating game, man, against the Boston Celtics, where the Knicks had the Celtics. They could have won this game. Went into overtime. Celtics, I think, tied it at the end, ascended to overtime, and then broke the Knicks' hearts. Knicks just can't, and broke Hart, I guess, because he's hurt. The Knicks just can't beat the Celtics, man. It's crazy. So the Knicks, coming off of that, I don't think it's a good spot for the Knicks. The Knicks are basically locked into the 3 seed as well. I mean, it's possible they drop to the 4, but I don't even know if they care that much. The Knicks probably want that. Here's conspiracy here. The Knicks might actually, it might be an advantage for them to drop to the 4 seed so they avoid the Celtics earlier on in the playoffs, because the Knicks have played better against the Cavs, I think, than against the Celtics. Celtics keep beating them, and Detroit probably wants to win more for the same reason so that they avoid the Celtics and they get up because they've actually played decently against the Cavs as well. So kind of a weird conspiracy here. Maybe both teams will conspire so that Detroit wins this game. I know we're laying points here. Detroit doesn't really need the game otherwise, but that's what I'm going to do. And then looking at the market real quick before I get out of here. Lines sitting at 4.5. I am worried that 73% of the cash is coming into the Knicks. This wasn't the case a little while ago when I looked, and 61% of the tickets on the Pistons. You can lay 4.5 probably on, but that's what I'm going to do. Tower Gang Tone on Twitter, patreon.com/Tower Gang. Once again, Colorado Rockies, Red Sox, Blue Jays over the total, Phillies, Braves under the total, Blue Jackets money line, Kraken puck line, and Pistons minus the points. Peace out, guys.